Welcome to 10 Minutes. I'm Tony Scott. Peter Rodney. Can you do it? Can you do it?
Do what?
Another show?
Yeah.
You got this?
This is show number 3.
For the day.
Yeah,
You're
for
the
the
show
day.
meister.
I've had a heck of a day.
Yes, you have.
Thankfully, there are no high school games going on tonight. So I'm going to go home and put my feet up.
Ah, good for you.
Thank you.
You know who doesn't put their feet up?
Map South.
People at Map South Hockey.
Yes, they do.
They
I've
go
seen them.
year round.
I've
They're
seen
coming
them.
right at you. They're training kids
I've seen them put their feet
year
up.
round. No, they don't. They're hard workers, and they're students, even harder workers. They got kids that are peewee age all the way to the pros. They're over in Mendota Heights.
How cool would it be to be a 12-year-old and you're going from box jumps to Pilates or whatever, and you look over and you see
Pilates.
TJ Oshie.
Or Justin Falk or Zach Parisi, and it's a good crew over there. I like those guys. I highly endorse this group of people for training your kids, young adults, to being better hockey players.
If I had kids, they'd go to Map South.
MapSouthHockey.com. All right, let's do this. We got Squirts. It's the biggest, or maybe second biggest,
Second
depending
biggest.
on who you ask, weekend of the year in Squirt hockey.
Second biggest.
Squirtacular is a big weekend, and so is the Fargo International.
Yep.
There are a lot of teams in this tournament. I think there's more than 64 in the Squirt A division.
Probably. I
I don't get how they do it, but somehow they get, after the first day, they get 16 of the top teams into a super bracket field.
A super
And
16. Not a sweet 16, a super 16.
I just want to make sure that if you're in charge of bracketing up there, do not, whatever you do, when Green Bay, Moorhead Red, Woodbury, and West Fargo all make it, don't put them in the same side of the bracket.
You should write a strongly worded
Do
letter.
not do it. I know it's tempting. Those 4 should be split up because those are the 4 best teams in this tournament. And I'm serious. That's a good tournament up there. And
I can see little beads of
I know,
sweat
I know.
forming on your forehead.
All right, let's
take a
talk
chill
about
pill,
who we
old
like
man.
in this one.
I like all 4 of those teams.
All right, who do you like? Who are you going to pick to win it?
If I got to pick out of those 4, and now Green Bay is a little bit of an outlier, Northeast Wisconsin Junior Gamblers are a little bit of an outlier. Haven't seen them play yet this year, but we know a lot of kids on that roster. I'm still going to go with Moorhead, the runners-up of the Squirtacular, by a single goal to Woodbury. I'm going to take Spuds as my champions.
It's noteworthy that Todd didn't pick Woodbury either. He picked West Fargo. He liked that squad. So you got Moorhead.
Sorry, folks.
Both teams will be sleeping in their own beds. Okay, Woodbury and Green Bay won't. I wouldn't take. The only reason I wouldn't take Woodbury, and this is no offense to them, it's hard to win the Squirtacular and Fargo in the same year. It's rarely been done. I can only name about 2 or 3 teams in the last 10 years that have pulled off this.
Who was
feat.
it?
Well, I think Ossie Maple Grove with the Kukanens Janicki group. They won it both years and won Fargo both years, I believe. So, other than those 2 teams, I can't name a team that's won it here and then won it back up in Fargo.
It's like trying to win a regular season title and a postseason title.
It's very difficult.
It's hard.
It is hard. So I'm going to pick Green Bay, Northeast Wisconsin. They got Tony Timmerman.
Nice.
They got Connor DeBoer.
Nice.
Riley Clava.
Nice.
That is a stacked team. And I like the look of this team coming into the tournament. They have Edina White in one of their first 2 games.
Oof.
So not an easy
Goodness
route to the
gracious.
Sweet 16 for the Gamblers.
Battle
I have them
tested.
as my choice. And Todd picked West Fargo. I already said that.
All right, Stampede.
Let's go to Pee-wees.
Let's move on to Pee-wees.
Pee-wee AA. We're going to talk about the bottom 4 teams in the rankings here. And then in Pee-wee A, we're going to talk about the top 4 teams. Crazy. I get to the bottom. I get to number 10. Sometimes I sneak in 2 teams. Like, I tied for 10th. But
you're
these
the
teams...
the king of sneaking teams.
Sneak a
at the
team, man. I
bottom.
want to make people feel good, you know. But Hermantown, they've been in the top 10. Chaskashan is a top 10 quality team. I've seen them. Moorhead's been in the top 10. Tonka hasn't been in the top 10 this year, but has a lot of quality wins lately. Any of those 4 teams I could see getting out of regions and making it to the state tournament, and they're not even in the top 8 in the state right now.
Well, honestly, I thought you had a stroke when I
Right.
looked at the rankings and I saw 4 number 10s, and I thought, oh my gosh.
He's gone off the deep end, haven't I?
I wasn't going to say anything because the last thing I want to do on a Monday morning is dissect one of the million rankings that we do. But I thought, oh my God, he's losing it.
All right, so let's focus on the top 4 in Pee Wee. It seems like these 4 teams
I'm so excited
have
about this.
taken like over residency in the top 4. Hibbing, Minnetonka, who we're going to see in the Lumberjack Cup in a
Yep.
week. Armstrong Cooper and East Grand Forks. We almost had East Grand Forks. I was this close to getting those guys into the tournament. That would have been nice to see the East Side Hockey. They won a tournament a couple weeks ago over in Grand Forks. What do you think of these teams? Wouldn't it be fun to see these 4 teams in the state tournament? Especially you saw Armstrong a couple years ago at PWA.
I've got thoughts.
All right, let's hear
on
'em.
2 teams here. Number
All right.
1, I think that hockey in Minnesota is stronger when Hibbing is stronger.
Agreed.
It's like sports in America. When the New York teams are on a roll, America's on a roll. Look at the Yankees in the early 90s. It was a great time to be an American and a Yankee fan. When Hibbing is good, hockey in Minnesota is good.
I really don't.
The second
I don't
thought.
think the Yankees were good in the early 90s, the early 2000s. Early 90s.
Mid-90s.
They stunk.
Mid-90s.
They
The
stunk.
core
mid-90s.
4.
Mid-90s.
The core 4.
Yeah, 96 above.
Grow up.
That's not the early 90s.
Learn about the
It's
Yankees.
the late 90s.
Whatever. Armstrong Cooper, they always tend to have 2 kids that are about 11 feet tall and have size 15
Big Bird?
shoes. Like Big Bird. Jonah Jangula comes to mind.
Yes.
Tanner Roush comes to mind. Armstrong Cooper, one of those teams. They're very physical. They'll be knocking on the door once regions roll around. I like Armstrong Cooper a lot, and you know why else I like him? Because neither of us recognize a player on
Not
that
one
roster.
player. We went to the
I don't
roster.
recognize anybody's
Youth
name.
hockey, aficionados. Go to the
Dorks.
roster. Not one kid on there recognized. That excites me.
I love that.
Doesn't depress me. That
Love
excites
that.
me. I'm like,
it
all
makes
right,
me
we're
want to seek out a game on a random Wednesday night in the
Agreed.
middle of nowhere just to watch
Agreed.
them play.
All right, Bantam AA.
Top that.
Chaskatchan is on fuego.
Yeah.
They're the number 1 team in Bantam AA right now. They are knocking everybody out. I haven't lost in a long time. Let's talk about, instead of the forwards that get a lot of love on this show and on YHH, let's talk about a few defensemen. I'm going to pick one from Chaskatchan. Adam Kleber has become a standout. A lot of people love what they see. I've known Adam since he was probably 9 or 10 years old. It's fun to see his game continue to progress. For a kid who isn't really pretty shy kid, is not shy on the ice, and it's fun to see.
I suppose.
John Stout.
It's another good.
another-
He made all-tournament team for the Blue Hawks.
Outstanding. Great athlete. Can do it all. Fun to see. He knows when to push it and knows when to stay back. Those are my 2D. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with a name that we've mentioned a few times on this show, but he continues to get better every time I see him. Nolan Barker from Hermantown. Truth be told, you could take a lot of kids from that Hermantown team, especially
Yes.
on the D-Corps, but Nolan, when he was young, he was still just as big as he is now, and
Yes,
he
he
looked a
was.
little bit like a pony trying to find its legs on the ice.
And now he's found him.
And now he's grown into his body. He's like a missile out there. When he gets rolling, he'll run you over. Like most Bantams, he's refining his stick handling a little bit, learning when to pick his shots. But when he puts it all together, he'll be a top 4 for the Hermantown High
He's
School
another
team.
one of those
No doubt.
Eric Goetz type kids, big defender. Darian Goetz. It just reminds me of those guys.
Okay, he picks up a new wrinkle every time I see him play.
Agreed. Who's your last guy?
Landon Stringfellow.
Agreed.
Now, I don't know how many more wrinkles Landon has to work out in his game. Probably 0. It's a little bit like watching a freight train go up and down the ice. I mean, he skates like Eric Dickerson ran. The head doesn't
Yes.
move. You could put a Coca-Cola on top of his head, wouldn't spill a drop as he goes down the ice.
You seem like you drank some Coca-Cola before the show.
I've had 96 ounces of water and 24 ounces of coffee.
Wow.
I'm also
Watch
a vegan,
out.
so
No, you're not.
I have
a
the
vegan.
power of
You just
soy
finished
butter.
chicken. You just ate chicken right there.
How do you know it was real
Because
chicken?
I asked you.
It was free range.
Caught you on that.
Free
chicken.
range.
That your vegan diet didn't last very long. All right, last but not least, Bantam A. Warroad is now
Talk about him again. Talk about him
number
again,
one.
Tony.
Number one in the state. They just beat your East Grand Forks Green Wave 7-3 last
Rude.
weekend. They are the number 1 team in the state of Bantam
Rude.
A. All right, let's move to high school.
All right.
We're gonna pick teams kind of a little bit off the radar that we think could make an appearance at the XL Energy Center this year at state tournament.
This is going to be a fun one.
Double A, who do you got? It's written
because
right
I'm a professional.
It's right up there.
I have notes here.
God,
you know who I like? You know who I really like?
Who?
I like Hastings.
Yeah.
You want to know why? Because they can turn any game into a war, and they generally come out on top when it's a war. They're second in the Metro East in penalties. That tells me they play physically. And during the playoffs, if you can trap a team, Lakeville South, into playing a physical game and sit them down in the box, you can take advantage on the power play.
And here's a take on Hastings. A reason I liked your take on this.
Thank you.
Is they lost last year in a heartbreaker. So
they're not going to do that again.
Remember that game last year.
It's going to feel like the new millennium in Hastings all over again. Tyler McCarville, an excellent goaltender. You need goaltending in the playoffs. 7 players have 12 or more points for the gritty Raiders.
Stats guy, Pete Odney. Attaboy.
I have a notebook.
My pick is I don't have a notebook.
It's because you're a loser.
I'm going to go Andover Huskies.
Wow. The beaten path.
I think they are going to sneak out of 7AA again.
Wow.
Everyone's been talking about Grand Rapids. I watched Andover last night dismantle Totino Grace. It was 4-0, could have been 8.
Let's not forget that last year Andover was the number 1 seed in the section, the number 1 seed at the state tournament. Yes, Wyatt Kaiser left. There are still some pieces from last year's team that are still there. They still know what they're doing. They run kind of the same offense, the same sort of in-your-face style that Andover typically does. I cannot wait to watch everybody north of the Metro have a heart attack when a Metro team wins 7AA. I think it's one of the funniest times of the year.
It's bad. Todd picks Cretan Durham Hall.
I like that one. I think they're still young. I think they still might be a year or two away from getting out of that section is basically like winning a quarterfinal game at state because it's so hard. Tough. But I think they're a year or two away.
All right.
Or tier.
Let's go to Class A. I'm going to take my Class A sneaky team is going to be Northern Lakes Lightning.
Tom Kupich just spit out a Miller Lite listening to that.
Yeah, our boy up at Aitken. There are boys from Aitken High School on the Northern Lakes time.
People live in Aitken.
Pequot Lakes, Crosby Ironton. I think that's what makes up that co-op.
They were the Grizzlies.
They've only lost 1 game. So
it's pretty good.
They just dismantled. I used that word already. Throttled Park Rapids last night, 9-1. So let's throw it out there. 5A is a wide open section. So
here's a.
Let's try Northern Lakes.
Here's a tease for you. I don't know. Are they in 5A or 6A?
5A.
They're in 5A.
They should be in 6A, but they're not.
Here's a tease for you. Tomorrow, the unranked will come out. It's the boys' high school week.
Yep.
Guess which team nicknamed the Lightning is going to be in the unranked?
Eastview.
It's not Eastview. Sorry,
Okay.
Eastview. It'll be Northern Lakes.
All right. Todd took another neighboring town to Pequot.
This one's in 6A.
Yes, Fergus Falls. Kind of not neighboring, but it's kind of in that north central area of the state.
The Otters.
The Otters. Good pick on that one, Todd. I like them. They are ranked number 7 in the state, so he didn't really go. He went about this far on a limb picking the. But they have not been in the state tournament in a long time.
In a long, long time. But you know what I like about the Otters? Just like the Otter box, they know how to defend. Keeping goals off the board is the most important part during the playoffs. So second to scoring goals.
Did you write copy for like an advertising agency?
No.
That sounded like
I did. I watched a lot of
copyright.
Mad Men though.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm also hearing
that
music.
That doesn't count. Somebody's phone is going off. Must be the Todd.
We did build this city on rock and roll.
Yeah,
we
right.
built this city on Otter roll.
Yes, we did. Who do you got, Mr. Otter? Oh, here he goes. Picks out his notes again.
I got notes again.
I've got turn that thing off. This is great.
I can't. I've got Mankato West.
West, not East.
Not East. I've got Mankato West. Mankato East could prove me wrong, absolutely.
And so could Dodge County.
So could Dodge County. But I still like the Mankato teams in the final in 1A. Brandon Swenson's got 29 points. Gavin Brunmeyer has 21 points. Another good goaltender, Caleb Cross. A 9-1-2 record, a 1-2-1 goals against, a 947 save percentage, and 4 shutouts. I said it before, I'll say it again. You need goaltending in the postseason. The Scarlets have it.
Not to nerd out on you, but I don't think they're going to meet in the finals. They'll be in the semifinals. That unless you're saying it's not possible. I think they're going to be the 2 and 3 seeds. I think I pretty much locked them up because
You just ruined my day, didn't you?
Sorry, I'm just throwing it out there. That's
fine.
All right, NCAA hockey announced their 4 regionals. The reason I'm talking about this is it's a really interesting thing. We followed more college hockey now as a lot of these kids have gotten into the college ranks. They have 4 regionals. I think one is Albany. We haven't determined
Manchester.
that. Maybe Manchester. Fargo, Loveland, Colorado, and Bridgeport. Where's that?
Connecticut. Boy, I have never heard of a better hockey hotbed than Loveland, Colorado.
It's a ski town. It's kind of weird. But anyway, they'll be playing a game there, apparently.
Yeah.
So they got their 4 regionals. Instead of the pairwise, which they've used for years, they can't now because everyone's playing conference only.
Yep.
It's going to go back to the smoky room, and it's going to be interesting to see who makes it in.
Unfortunately,
only 16 teams get in. Go ahead.
Yes, but unfortunately, this is where I think teams like, for lack of a better term, Notre Dame thrive.
Yeah.
Did you not see a representative from Notre Dame in a cute little Irish sweater vest with a Cohiba or something American sitting in a room with leather chairs and a glass of cognac making their case and kind of with a little hint, like, hey, we're Notre Dame.
We are Notre Dame. We should be
Find us a spot. Yeah. I'm not saying Notre Dame would do that. I'm not saying they'd be the only team to do that. But the Blue Bloods, this gives them an even bigger advantage than the Pairwise.
They have better wins than Michigan does, and when you're looking Big Ten hockey.
Yeah.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, they're locks. And I think that Michigan and Notre Dame are bubble, but maybe could sneak in. NCHC, UND, UMD, St. Cloud, those guys are great. Omaha's been the hot team in the NCHC. I think a little bit might come down to playoffs there in that division. Hockey East, the 2 Boston schools, Boston College.
Could it be an NCAA tournament without Boston College and Boston University? No, it couldn't.
No, it can't be. And BU, I looked up their stats earlier this week. They were 8-2.
Nice.
So I think they're well on their way to an NCAA seed. ECAC, Odine Tufts, Quinnipiac. What are they? What's their mascot? Bobcats. I knew it was a cat. I couldn't remember what it was.
I was going to say Cadets. Just keep.
I think they're in. Mankato's obviously in. They're number 3 in the country. Bowling Green's iffy. Michigan Tech will probably get in. By the way, have you seen Michigan Tech's retro uniforms this year?
No, I have not.
They are sharp. And then the last one they'll get in, I don't know why they're the AIC. What are they?
Yellow Jackets.
I think they're bumblebees of some sort.
Yellow Jackets.
I think there's 16 teams you might find in this year's NCAA tournament.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How big of a party do you think the Eigner family is going to throw if Bowling Green goes to the NCAA tournament?
That'll be a big one.
That would be a heck of a party.
Yeah, because a lot of those kids, Trent coached, and obviously Ty is the head coach there.
Yep. I don't know how much fun it would be because Trent would be so into the game and staring at the screen and probably wouldn't entertain any guests.
No, he'd be fine.
That'd be a fun party to be.
I think. All right, it's time for game pucks.
Little game pucks. Like Revis in his prime.
You got one?
I got one. Wes Bolin, the Woodbury head coach, 500 career wins. I don't think people realize just how hard that is to do. Wes joined some elite company. Wes Bolin, here's to you.
I got a quick half a puck to Wes as well because I grew up with Wes in my neighborhood. He was a captain of my brother's high school hockey team, and he followed in the same footsteps as Jim Baxter did and coached for 500-plus wins. And Wes was a great guy, great leader, great hockey player too, by the way. And I was running a Great Plains practice a couple summers ago, and there's Wes out on open ice,
hanging out,
just taking his grandkids out for a skate. It was pretty cool to see.
But did Wes rock a buckskin jacket like Jim Baxter?
No, I don't think so. How do you know about that?
Because there's an iconic picture of Jim Baxter, famed Minneapolis coach, wearing a buckskin jacket and a cowboy hat.
Yes.
He looks like he was just a riot.
That's
second question.
Yes.
Is Wes Bolin, was he the kid in the neighborhood who picked the teams? He was always one of the kids picking.
He lived actually in a different neighborhood. He lived in the Bryn Mawr neighborhood. I grew up, but we went to the same elementary school, same junior.
So
high.
At recess, he was the kid picking the teams.
Oh, for sure, for sure he was. My game puck goes out to Dick, the recently deceased Dick Emheiser.
All right.
Dick was an awesome guy. Like, he was one of those guys who was at everything. He was a high school hockey coach. He was involved with USA Hockey, Minnesota Hockey. When I was doing my training, when I was coaching in the Bloomington Jefferson, he was the District 6 coach in chief, or he
No,
would
he
always,
wasn't.
yeah, he would come and
Was he really?
deliver all the coaching clinics and
about
stamp
that?
the paper. He and Mr. Pat Westrom were together. So R.I.P. Dick Emheiser. We lost a good
Rest in
one there.
peace. I apologize for giggling. I'm losing it. We're at 20 minutes in the
Yep.
show. I'm starting to lose.
We've
all
doubled
focus.
our promise.
Yeah,
All right, ready? We got our boom roasted and our if you could.
I've got a boom roasted.
We're gonna tag team this
We're
one.
gonna tag team this boom roasted.
You want to go?
So it's come to our attention that at some facilities,
It's a lot of facilities.
live streaming by the visiting teams is not allowed. Why? Like, live streaming usually includes 1 or 2 people. You're telling me that you can't find a place for 1 or 2 people from the opposing team to set up an iPad or even a cell phone to live stream a game?
Absolutely
Come on.
ridiculous that they aren't allowed to go over there, and that is a poor usage of power by whether it's an athletic director, facility manager, whoever's saying no. You get a boom roast. You get a hot lamp. Hot
roast.
lamp from us. That's what you're going to get. All right. We're on to If You Could. This one comes from Todd.
That's what I was giggling about a few seconds ago.
So silly. This is just silly. If you don't like silliness, you can turn the show off now.
If you don't like PBS, turn the show off now.
The question is, if you could read a book by any to any Sesame Street character, who would it be?
I'm going to let you go first.
So I'll confess, I didn't watch a lot of Sesame Street.
That explains a lot.
Because I was the youngest, and I was already watching MASH when I was like 4 years old and going to like concerts and stuff. I didn't sit around and watch.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Watching MASH at 4 years old, it's basically child abuse.
Like, I went to Led Zeppelin in 1975.
When you were, what, 49?
6.
Oh.
So, like, I led a little different
did not
life.
go to Led
Yes,
Zeppelin
I
when
did.
you were 6.
Met Stadium. I did. It was
my
amazing.
gosh.
So, I didn't have that childhood. But as a parent, I had to watch countless videos, countless hours of Sesame Street with my kids. And
That's why your kids turned out so much better.
This was kind of the Elmo era, and there was
Okay.
this character on there called Prairie Dawn. It was like this girl, and she was like in one thing, and I thought it was the funniest name. And I still to this day ask about Prairie Dawn. Where's Prairie Dawn? So if I were to read one book, it would be to Prairie Dawn.
Wow, I'm glad you brought up Elmo, because that would be my pick. I would love to read a book to Elmo. Elmo is, Prairie Dawn looks like the scariest freaking puppet I've ever seen. Todd just held up a picture of Prairie Dawn. More like Prairie Gouge my eyes out. Yeah. I would like to read a book to Elmo, because then you'd have the chance at being able to read a book to Mr. Noodle, who I believe is one of the most underrated characters in the history of Sesame Street.
There's a lot of them.
Mr. Noodle would get himself into these predicaments, and Elmo and myself would help him out of it. And by myself, I mean all the kids at home watching on PBS.
Well,
I love PBS.
We've been down a lot of streets today, including Sesame Street. Thank you to Todd and yourself for helping put together a great show. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a lot about what's going on in hockey here, from squirts to peewees to college and everything in between. For Peter Odney, I'm Tony Scott. We'll see you around the rink.
On my way to where the air